It's a rumour. We're just going to have to wait and see how things develop. One thing that does look relatively certain, if anything is relatively certain on the rumour mill, is that the Belfast Giants need some help on defence. No Roman Gavalier, he's out with torn knee ligaments and could be out for some time. Trevor Johnson has got a busted arm. He's going to be out for at least 6 weeks. That leaves the Belfast Giants with just 2 first-line defencemen. Troy Newmeyer, great guy, ex-Manchester Storm player, tremendous character, but I'm sure Troy wouldn't mind me saying he's 37 and he doesn't need to be logging 35 to 40 minutes every game night. Playing alongside him is Graham Walton, great British defenceman, and he's an up-and-coming D-man for the Belfast Giants and indeed the Great Britain squad. But 2 recognised defencemen, they need help at the back. Mark Dutium has been dropping back and helping out on defence, but could the injuries to Gavalier and indeed Johnson lead an opening for Shane Johnson to return to the Belfast Giants? We're just going to have to wait and see on that. One thing's for certain is that Todd Kelman, who's a defenceman, or was a defenceman in his playing days, he's now general manager of the Belfast Giants. He doesn't want to get back on the ice. He's made his move to retire and move into management, and that could almost certainly see the return of Shane Johnson to the Belfast Giants. Johnson's still playing. He's played with Sheffield a couple of games this season. He's also iced for the Cardiff Devils, and I'm sure there's nothing he'd like more than to lace them up full time, and where else but Belfast. He's enjoyed his time in Belfast, and I think if on the rumour mill, that could be the strongest rumour of the lot this week. News elsewhere, Newcastle, who've had a great start to the season under Rob Wilson. They've restructured their club, and they're working extremely hard off the ice to make Newcastle a force again in British ice hockey, having won the playoffs a couple of years ago. They want to return to the big time as well, and they're not being helped. They've had a couple of dates taken off them, and they're having to rearrange games. They've already played one game this year in Whitley Bay, which, as anyone who's ever been to Whitley Bay knows, is far from an ideal building to play Elite League hockey. But the Vipers have lost another couple of dates, thankfully not involving the Manchester Phoenix. So all you Phoenix fans who like to go up to Team Tyneside and enjoy the hog roast in the Newcastle Arena, rest assured, our games have not been affected at this moment in time. Fingers crossed there'll be no more fixture changes for the Newcastle Vipers, certainly not to include the Manchester Phoenix. Let's look forward to the weekend now, and the games coming up for the Manchester Phoenix against the Hull Stingrays. Hull, of course, we just mentioned before, who lost at home to the Belfast Giants 7-1 last weekend, and then they went to Whitley Bay on Sunday in the Challenge Cup to play the Vipers and lost 4-1 again. So it wasn't a good weekend for the Hull Stingrays last weekend. And if the Phoenix can do the business this coming weekend, on Saturday we travel to Humberside for a BMI Baby Elite League game. Sunday night's game in the Altrincham Ice Dome, of course, is Challenge Cup. Don't forget, that one's not on your season ticket. That is a buy on the door game for Phoenix fans and indeed for Hull Stingrays fans who travel across. But a victory for the Phoenix on Sunday night in the Challenge Cup will put the Stingrays out of the Challenge Cup and will put the Phoenix in with a great chance of proceeding to the second round, because Newcastle have already got 4 points in Group B of the Challenge Cup. Sheffield have got 2 points, and if we can take 2 off Hull on Sunday night, then the Phoenix will go on to 4 points as well, and that will set up a very interesting final game in the group section for the Manchester Phoenix when we have to travel to Sheffield to take on the Steelers in a game which will be played in Ice Sheffield. Folks, remember that the Challenge Cup game against the Steelers in Sheffield is in Ice Sheffield. You will need to book your tickets early to go and take in that game, because as you all know from last year when we were playing home games there, it's a limited capacity in Ice Sheffield. One other little story to bring you this week, and it's a sad story. It's always a sad story when someone who's served the game of hockey in this country well passes away, and Chick Zemek, a Canadian guy who came over to this country after the Second World War and starred for the Nottingham Panthers through the 1950s. He passed away last week at the age of 81, and it's always sad when somebody like that passes on, and we wish his family all the condolences in the world, and all his friends as well. We send our sympathies to Chick Zemek's family and everyone who knew him. But one other thing about Chick Zemek, he was a member, and he is a member, of the British Ice Hockey Hall of Fame. And that's one of the things that we've tried to feature in our Match Night programme this year. We're going to try and get a feature Hall of Famer from the British Ice Hockey Hall of Fame in our match night programme every night. It helps build a little bit of history about the game in this country, and for some people who don't know much about the Ice Hockey Hall of Fame in the UK, it's a bit of an insight into some of the people who've played and starred and helped the game develop over many, many years in this country. Don't forget, ice hockey is not a new game to the UK. It's been here since the 20s. Great Britain, in fact, were Olympic champions back in 1936. Not a lot of people know that, and during the course of this season we'll feature some of those players who won Olympic gold for Great Britain in the Winter Olympics in 1936. We'll feature them in our match night programme. Well, that's just about it for this first edition of Phoenix News here exclusively on Phoenix TV. I hope it's given you a little bit of insight into some of the things that are going on around the club, a little bit of rumour and conjecture from elsewhere around the league, and everybody will have to wait and see how some of those rumours pan out. Is there anything in them? We'll wait and see. If there isn't, please don't blame me, folks. I'm only the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger is always the watchword in situations like this. But like we said earlier, it does keep the conversation going at work, in the pub and in the rink. Folks, Phoenix TV is the place to catch up with everything regarding the Manchester Phoenix, and we'll bring you the news here on Phoenix TV each and every week. Have a great week, and we'll see you at the weekend's games against the Stingrays.